My name's Cameron Stewart. I'm the programme leader for PGCE Secondary Maths here at Cardiff Met. I was recently very privileged to work with a group of students from the Maths and Numeracy, Science and Technology and Health and Wellbeing groups to explore a project working across all of those AoLEs. The soundbite you're going to hear from now is Nick Sherrin, who is going to explain to you their project based on the Paralympics.
Hi, my name is Nick Sherrin and I am a PGCE Secondary Science with Biology student. I have recently participated in a collaborative group task with peers on the PGCE course across various subjects, including PE, technology and maths, also not forgetting my own subject of science. Doing this collaborative task was a great opportunity to not only catch up with familiar faces, but also draw together lots of skills and knowledge that we have acquired throughout the duration of the course. This task was also a brilliant opportunity for us as students to demonstrate our understanding of the professional standards and to also collect evidence that can be used on our PLPs to further help us achieve the status of QTS. The main professional standards that are highlighted within this project were collaboration, innovation and professional learning. I think it's really important within schools to be working across areas of learning and experience. This challenges the concept of artificial connections versus powerful connections. The input of multiple practitioners with a breadth of knowledge allows for learners to connect the dots between why they're being taught particular content and how it has a direct impact on their learning, and also how to be a successful citizen of Wales, which, don't forget, is one of Donaldson's visions within his new curriculum for Wales. Moving on to the work with my group that we produced then. Within our group, there were students from biology, chemistry, maths, food technology and PE. This meant there was a diverse breadth of background knowledge that could be brought together to produce an informative and meaningful scheme of work for the targeted individuals. The learners for this project were actually from across 3 year groups, 5, 6 and 7. This means it was Key Stages 2 and 3 that were at the target of this group work. This means overall then it was a transition project. We decided to focus our project on the Paralympics. The Paralympics is being held this summer, so it was an extremely appropriate and current topic to choose for our theme. Additionally, informing learners about the Paralympics helps contribute towards the goal of producing a socially inclusive curriculum. This also helps us to become ethically informed citizens. In addition to this, as practitioners, we really do need to promote and value diversity within the 21st century, and this all starts with the fundamental years of education. When discussing the theme for our topic, we also agreed that there's a poor perception of the Paralympics in comparison to the Olympics, especially in regards to the media, with reduced coverage in particular. This spurred us on even more to choose this topic as our theme. Then, of course, there is a wealth of opportunities for multiple AoLEs to join in and contribute within this topic. So, how do the AoLEs link? Well, within the initial stages of discussion, we looked at various approaches to conducting this project, and we decided to use a multidisciplinary approach. This means that each discipline retains their importance, but works towards a common theme to illuminate this theme through various ways, which is what we're doing here. So each subject is their own discipline, but we all work together towards a common theme. In regards to the what matters statements for each of our AoLEs, we picked one from each and then really focused on those what matters statements to enrich the content being produced. The first one from Science and Technology was design thinking and engineering offer technical and creative way to meet society's needs and wants. Number 2, mathematics and numeracy. Statistics represent data, probability, models, chance, and both support informed inferences and decisions. Number 3, health and wellbeing. Developing physical health and well-being has lifelong benefits. It goes without saying that the 4 core purposes were at the heart of our project, and each core purpose played a central role in ensuring that this scheme of work is meaningful and will allow for personal growth and development, as well as academically for the learners. Moving on to the sessions and what they encompassed. So the first lesson was aimed at Year 5, and the title of this was Exercise and Me. During this hour-long session, the students will learn about the circulatory system of the heart and will produce a small paper model of the heart with corresponding coloured strings, blue and red, to show the flow of blood through the muscle. The learners will then place the fist of one hand into the other hand and squeeze as hard as possible to understand how the heart beats. The students will then move on to playing games, running around, but they must measure their heart rate before and after participating in physical activity. They will also have to use numeracy skills to work this out. This will show them how their heart must work harder when the body is using up lots of energy. Finally, the learners will look at the different emotions that are experienced within athletes across the Paralympics with the associated chemicals that cause these feelings. This lesson in particular ties science with health and well-being perfectly. Moving on to the second lesson then, which is aimed at Year 6, and this lesson is called The Athlete's Diet. The students within this session then will be introduced to the various food groups that are present within our diets, and more particularly what each food group provides for us in terms of nutrition and energy, which is of course important for athletes. They must assign food on the slide to the groups using whiteboards, and they can discuss this with their peers. The learners will then undertake a small scientific experiment whereby they will use chemicals to test for the presence of food groups in unknown solutions, and will need to record their findings in a table to work out which food group it belongs to. Finally, the learners will look at specific athlete profiles for the Paralympics, and then design a meal that will benefit their performance using all the knowledge they have learned within this session. There is an authentic link to Wales within this lesson, as there is a profile on Aled Davis, who competes in the shot put and discus. This lesson encompasses biology, health and well-being, and numeracy authentically. Finally then, moving on to the last lesson of this transition project, which is aimed at Year 7 in Key Stage 3, and this is called The Mechanics of Blades. Within this session then, the learners will be introduced to various athletes who have prosthetic legs and their achievements to date. This will be followed by working out the mean sprint time for the top 10 rankings in the 100-metre sprint for both the Paralympics and the Olympics. The learners will then explore the mechanics and science behind the design of blades by producing their own hypothetical blade design. They will have to justify why they have used specific shapes and the materials chosen. Learners will then use stilt to experience how Paralympians with prosthetics move around their environment, and this brings in the real-life authentic context as they are getting to experience what the Paralympians do. The learners will then finish the session by conducting 100-metre sprints on the field, working out the mean result for everyone, and then assigning first, second and third place to the individuals with the quickest sprint times. Once again, this lesson ties in science and technology perfectly with health and well-being. Reflecting upon this group work experience then, I personally feel like I've developed lots of skills and experiences which I can take forward with me now into my teaching practice, working by both myself and across AoLEs. Since doing this project in my placement school, I've also been trying to incorporate elements of AoLEs into my own subject. This primarily has been through numeracy. Diolch yn fawr for listening, and I hope you have enjoyed.
Hi Nick, Paralympics. Great topic. You know, I gave you guys a scope of something topical, something kind of current, and yeah, I thought that was a really nice way of taking it. So how did you guys feel about the project when you first came into it?
So obviously we were told about the project a few weeks in advance, but we were knee deep in CP2, so a lot of us hadn't really thought a lot about it. Obviously everyone in school was looking forward to their half terms, but we had in our minds we had this project to do. At first we were a bit apprehensive about it, a lot of us, because we were looking forward to that break, so a lot of us were feeling a bit apprehensive about it, like I just said. But when we all came together on that first day on the Teams meeting, it was really nice to see some familiar faces, like I said earlier, have a bit of a catch-up at the start, and then also think of how we could all come together and work together to produce something meaningful. So obviously we were exploring different themes. There's ones that's been covered a lot, and someone did mention the Olympics, but I was thinking that might just be an easy option to choose. What other way could we spin this off and look at something a bit more diverse? So keeping the same theme what someone mentioned, I thought, why did we do the Paralympics?
Yeah, definitely, it's really good. So how did you fit your subjects in around that? So you've got Paralympics sat in the middle here, yeah. You know, and you all coming at it from health and well-being, sci-tech, maths, etc. How did you all slot in?
So yeah, obviously we have these 3 different AoLEs in this group we were put in. So I think we all sat down and thought, how could we each contribute? So I think we had some time to split off. So I was with science, so there was biology, chemistry and physics in the group. And there's the health and well-being PE lot. And then there was the science and technology.
Yeah.
So we all went away, had our own time to think, and we came back, and it did all just slot in quite nicely, to be fair. Like when we looked at the lessons with science, there was all the stuff with the biology part of it, Then there was physics behind the mechanics of the blades, and health and wellbeing in general, with obviously the Paralympics as being sports and everything. So it all tied in quite nicely, to be fair. So we just thought it was quite a topical, current subject which we could all feed into. And
so that kind of multidisciplinary.
Yeah, the multidisciplinary approach, which with Drake and Burns we So obviously we told us to look at the literature.
Yeah.
So we went and explored some literature behind the pedagogy of it all and how we could make it tie in. So we found something from Drake and Burns with the 3 approaches to learning. So there was the multidisciplinary approach, the interdisciplinary approach, and the transdisciplinary approach, which all 3 were great. But from our backgrounds and our AoLEs, we felt the multidisciplinary kept our own subjects as our specialisms and with the focus, but there was a main theme overarching them, which we could all feed into.
Yeah, I like it. I think, I think, as we said before, I think that's a perfectly good way of exploring this, isn't it? You all bring your subject specialism into it, definitely. So looking onto what sort of advice would you give to kind of student teachers or even more experienced teachers out there that are exploring this kind of Cross-AoLE for the first time? How would you sort of summarise your experiences to give them some advice?
I do think we're quite a lucky cohort this year as PGCE students. Obviously, with the new curriculum rolling out next year now, a lot of in-university style content is being focusing on this. Yeah. So I feel like we're kind of the cohort of PGCE students that are going into schools now on placements and kind of feeding the knowledge we're getting told here and then translating it into our placement schools. So in my placement school in particular, I've been going in after university sessions and informing them of what we've done, and then they've been planning their obviously curriculums for next year and have been taking bits and bobs and have been feeding that in and weaving it in. Yeah. So it's been interesting in that aspect. They've been really valued what we're taking to them as well as us valuing the experience they're giving us as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's realising that none of us are experts in this. We're all out of our comfort zone a little bit, aren't we? But I think we need to be open enough to realise that we can learn from each of those AoLEs. And I think just having that conversation as a starter is really, really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of it with science in particular as well. We have the mathematics and numeracy AoLE in this group as well, and it was quite nice for us to, even though we are completely discrete, separate AoLEs, there are so many opportunities for us to bounce off each other, and especially with maths being a cross-curricular element in all subjects anyway, it was really nice to sit down and work with each other and find meaningful ways to make the 2 work.
Yeah, definitely. What I found in the past doing similar things to this is that you've kind of come out with a body of work here, which is great, and what you'll probably find over the next few years is it might develop, or somebody might grab hold of it and tweak it. And I think we would just encourage schools and teachers to just have a go and have a play with the work you've done. You've put a lovely kind of poster together which summarises it. I think there's QR codes, is there?
Yeah, QR
behind
codes.
It to sort of take you to the resources.
So it's easy. You just scan it and it's going to bring up all the shared drive then with the resources, the PowerPoints, and anything you need for those lessons on there for you to just look at.
Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? Nick, thank you and your group for all of your work.
No problem.
Enjoy your NQT.
Will do. Thanks, Cam.
Cheers.